Zoom with Russ Porter, who is the owner of Rockwall School of Music. Russ, thank you so much for visiting with me today.
Sure, it's my pleasure. Glad to meet with you.
Yes, I'm excited to share with everyone the history of your school, what kind of lessons you offer, and how you are serving the needs of your students in today's time with the quarantine and all of that.
That's
tell us
true.
a little bit?
Yeah, well, we thought we might have a little bit of a transition time from all of our in-person lessons to kind of a mixture of online or in-person lessons that students could choose. But we had to drastically make that switch to all online lessons, which is going extremely well. Basically, everything is still interactive with the teacher. The students still come at their same day, same time, but instead of coming here for private lessons with in-person instructions by our teachers, they just do everything online through the Zoom lessons.
Great. So I can envision, for example, on a piano lesson, you would just have the student's parents set up the camera so that they could see the keyboard or what have you. Is that kind of how you're doing it? And then you have the sound on?
Exactly. Different instruments require different setup, of course, but in your instance with the piano, then it's more important that the teachers see the arm position and the hand position and the keyboard. So not necessarily their face as much, because it's more of the technique that they're working on. Whereas some of our voice teachers, it's very important for them to see their face and their structure and how they're forming their words when they sing. So each one has a little bit of a different, twist to it, but everybody's adjusting extremely well.
Good. I think it's fantastic that we have the technology to be able to do that today, and that your students can continue on, because we know they need to keep their structure. They need to keep their self-discipline, right? And music is such an important part of life. You want to tell us kind of what types of lessons, what instruments or, modalities do you offer?
Sure. Pretty much anything that students want to learn. We do have a few exceptions of things that we don't have enough requests for in order to offer, but the majority of our lessons, probably close to 50%, has always been piano. That's always a great foundational place to start, no matter what instrument they eventually want to learn to play later on. Piano just teaches so many good basics, treble and bass clef. And then right after that would be guitar, and then drums, voice, violin, viola, cello, bass, ukulele. All of those are real standard instruments. And we do a couple of teachers who have a band background, so they're able to teach some of the brass instruments like trumpets, trombones, and then also woodwinds, clarinets, flutes, things like that.
That's great. And so most everybody has taken to the new structure pretty well then? They've transitioned just fine? Good.
We're picking up a few families who had always wanted to take music lessons, but they just couldn't fit it into their busy schedule. Well, now that they don't have a busy schedule outside of just the online schoolwork, they have more time, so they could schedule a 10 o'clock morning lesson or a 2 o'clock afternoon lesson, or even an afternoon or evening lesson time. So we're still getting requests for new people and to come in for lessons. And one of the things that we've heard repeatedly from parents, which I love this, is that they're so grateful that we're able to continue to offer consistency with their music lessons, because pretty much everything else in their child's life has been canceled or completely turned upside down. So music has been a real constant. And so we're so grateful that we can do that for our community.
Yes, I think that is fantastic. And I know you've been here for 22 years, right? In Rockwall. That's
right.
That's a long time. That's great. You want to tell me a little bit about maybe your personal history and how you ended up here in Rockwall?
Sure. Well, I grew up in Arkansas and went all the way through high school and college at Ouachita Baptist University in Arkansas. And that's where I met my wife. We were both music majors there. And then we came to the Fort Worth area. I'd studied for my master's in music in Fort Worth, and then my wife received her master's in music from University of North Texas up in Denton. And so the first 25 years or so of my professional career, I had studied to work as a worship pastor in different churches in Texas and Louisiana. And then actually about 16 years ago, Heather Cullens, who was the original owner and of the Rockwall School of Music, she was looking for someone else to come in and take over and grow the school, because she had some changes in her schedule that wouldn't allow her to do that any longer. So we were able to come in and become owners. And so for the last 16 years, we've been the owners, and always had a dream when I was working with churches that when during the week, basically Monday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, the church buildings were pretty much empty, but there were lots of individual rooms that were available. And so I always had an interest and a passion for reaching out to the community and providing like a music academy inside the church. And for different reasons, that didn't ever quite work out. So now I'm actually living my dream, and have been for the last 16 years. Something that I thought might take place in a church building now is at our own facility here in Rockwall.
Yes, that is great. I love it. I love it. Y'all are such an asset to the community and such a great resource for everyone who wants to get music into their life. And
that's a great question, because every year for the 16 years we've owned the School of Music, we always get one request for accordion, one for bagpipes, and one for harmonica or something like that. So we always kind of chuckle when we get that one call. Evangelist. And we always get one call a year. But this year we even had a more unusual request. A gentleman was requesting lessons for shofar, which, because church background, that's really the only reason I knew what a shofar is. It's actually a ram's horn that they use in Jewish worship services. And so it's a real traditional instrument for the Jewish people of Jewish faith. And so that was a real unusual request to have someone wanting to learn to play the shofar.
That is interesting. I have heard of that instrument, and I guess you have teachers who are equipped and ready to handle these odd requests when they come up from time to time. Yes?
Well, bagpipe, we don't have a teacher. We only get one a year. So unfortunately, we don't offer lessons in those areas. But all the others that I talked about, all of our teachers are university trained. So they're very highly skilled, but also have a real heart for teaching students how to learn the instrument.
That's great. And I believe that you told me that you have 400 or 500 students.
Right now, we're just shy of 600.
Oh, wow.
So we've reached our all-time high of 600 students last month. And so we have just lots and lots of homeschool families who will come in for early afternoon lessons. We have some recently retired adults who've moved here to be closer to their family. And so they're looking for something to keep their skills interested or their brain sharp. And so they're looking to learn an instrument that maybe they've always had a passion to learn, but just didn't have the time. And then, of course, after school hours during normal circumstances, that's when we're the busiest, from about 3:30 until 8 at night.
I think it's great you're keeping the same schedule that they would normally have with their lessons as well. I think that's important. Absolutely. Well, can you tell me, has there been a memorable experience with a client or a customer that you remember that you might want to share?
Sure. The one that pops into my mind, there was a gentleman a couple of years back that came into our office, and after the normal greeting, he plopped a violin case on the counter and he said, "I've been lugging this thing around for 15 years, and I've decided if I'm ever going to learn to play it, I better do it now." And he said, "Oh, and by the way, I'm 84 years old."
Wow. Wow.
So that was his goal. He'd had this violin for a long time, but just never took time to learn it. So we talked to our teachers and said his one goal is to learn to be able to play one of the church songs that he enjoys called Amazing Grace. And so the teacher worked with him, even though he had some arthritic problems with his hands. And so we just kind of skipped through the note learning process because he had a very specific goal, and we wanted to do everything we could to help him meet that goal. And so sure enough, about 6 months later, after much practice and dedication on his part, he was able to play that song for his church service. And then just 2 or 3 weeks afterwards, he had a stroke. It wasn't a massive stroke, but it was enough to cause some paralysis. And he had to just put the instrument back in the case and never to play again. So we were so grateful that we had that little window of time to help someone with a very heartfelt desire to learn a song so they can play it for their church congregation. And we were part of that. So we're grateful for that.
Yes, and it's really neat that you just did what you needed to do to meet his need and his particular circumstance. I think that's great. Yes. So Russ, you are dealing with a lot of things right now with the change in the schedule and the lessons, et cetera, but are you offering any specials or anything for somebody who wants to get started?
Sure. We're doing a lot of things for our current students. We're also offering bonus classes. A lot of the teachers have recognized there's things that they're just not able to get to be able to fit into their lesson time. And so we're offering some unique bonus classes to those families to help them learn with techniques, or like our guitar teacher is each week he's taking a classic rock and roll song, and students can just log in and be a part of that, learn, Sweet Home Alabama, or Stairway to Heaven, or some of the real classic rock and roll songs.
Yeah.
So different teachers are doing different things to be real creative with that. One of our violin teachers is showing students how to take their violin, but also play fiddle music with it. So things that are just a little bit of a crossover in different musical genres. So, but then as far as people that are just wanting to try it out and see what we have going on, currently we're offering a package of 8 lessons, kind of an introductory session for two months. And so if students individuals wanted to come and just try out lessons for 2 months, and if they want to continue, awesome. If not, they've had a chance to experience it. And so they could just call us here at the Rockwall School of Music at 972-722-6874, or they can just send us a text at that number as well, or an email to office@rockwallmusic.com. And the 8 lessons are $269 total.
Okay, and they can find you on Facebook as well. I'm sure your contact information is there, correct?
Our website's rockwallmusic.com. Real simple to remember.
Yes, and I'm going to put all of that in the narrative of the video so people will be able to contact you. And I really encourage people to, if you're not already involved, if you or a family member wants to get started in music, y'all call Rockwall School of Music. It's fantastic. And so I really appreciate you talking with me, Russ. I look forward to featuring you, and stay safe and stay healthy during this time.
All right. Well, thanks you as well. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.